Some breaking news out of Michigan this morning, folks. The state Supreme Court rejecting a case to remove Trump from the 2024 ballot. It's coming just a week after a ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court removing him from the ballot in that state. Want to bring in NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, Anthony Coley, former chief spokesperson for Attorney General at Merrick Garland. He's also an NBC justice and legal affairs analyst, and Republican strategist Susan Del Percio as well. Vaughn, start us off. Walk us through this ruling happening just in the last couple of minutes or so.
Right. We're just getting this filing in here. I think it's important to understand right after Colorado Supreme Court ruled last week that Donald Trump was disqualified from the ballot in Colorado. There are questions about how other potential Supreme Courts in states around the country would rule. Well, we have a ruling here from Michigan. This was an appeal, but we should note that instead they all but punt here. In fact, the Supreme Court is not actually taking up the appeal, instead affirming the decision of the lower court here. There was one dissenting judge who stated in a dissent, a 5-page filing, that he believed that the court should have considered this, yet sort of throughout his own writings here, essentially backed the decision of the Supreme Court and the lower court's decision, writing that there's a difference between Colorado state law and Michigan state law. Right. In Colorado, he writes that there's a distinction under their law that one must attest to being a qualified candidate versus in the state of Michigan, somebody must sign an affidavit of identity. And particularly under Michigan law, that does not apply to candidates for president. And that justice who wrote this and said that the Supreme Court should have taken this up under consideration did write that, quote, "I would affirm the Court of Appeals ruling on this issue." Later in 2024, though, should Trump become the Republican nominee for president in the United States or seek such office as an independent candidate, he suggests that at that point, perhaps the Michigan Supreme Court should take it up under consideration. Again, like we've seen in other courts in other states, making a clear distinction between the primary process and the general election. Right. Essentially, parties can put whoever they want on the ballot, but it has come the general election when it is incumbent upon the Secretary of State and the courts to determine whether a candidate is actually qualified.